All right, I believe we are live. I'm going to give people the chance to get onto this call because I know it will probably be a little bit before everyone can get on that wants to get on. While we are stalling, right? I want to go ahead and say that I'm really excited to be here, and we have definitely the biggest amount of coach participation in a call like this. And so I want to ask everyone just a simple question. Griffin, how long have you done the CrossFit Open, or how many CrossFit Opens have you done?
Since 2016, so however many that is.
Okay, Colette, what about you? I see you thinking.
2012, I think that was my first year, 2012 or 2013. I can't remember. So a good chunk of time.
Sweet. Jake Marconi.
My first Open was 2014. I didn't sign up, but that was my first one, and I've been going ever since.
All right, Mr. Jake Douglas.
I think this is my 11th or 12th. I'm not 100% sure. I remember how we had that weird one, like how we had two opens. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that, but at this point, a couple.
So basically, we've seen the game go down for quite a while. I've done every Open from 2012 and on, with the exception of 2024, I believe. I was recovering from a surgery. So we've all done this, right? And we have the 26.1 workout. So if you're just coming on, if you have a specific question that you want answered about this workout, we're going to try to break down all sorts of notes over strategy, best practices here. If you have something you want to ask, type it into the chat as a question, and we're going to have some time at the end of this just to answer all of those to make sure you get your questions addressed. So just looking at the workout, if you're unfamiliar, I would think most have seen the workout if they're on this call, but 26.1, it's a mouthful, so bear with me. It will be a 12-minute time cap. Most athletes are going to hit that time cap. It's going to be 20 wall balls, 18 box jump overs, 30 wall balls, 18 box jump overs, 40 wall balls, 18 med ball step overs, 66 wall balls, 18 med ball step overs. We're going back down, 40 wall balls, 18 box jump overs, 30 wall balls, 18 box jump overs, 20 wall balls. That took me, I feel like, almost 12 minutes to say. But standard weights here in terms of the medicine ball, it's going to be 20 pounds or 14 pounds for men or women, 24 or 20-inch box. And we're going to a 10 or a 9-foot target. Colette, do you know off the top of your head, are the masters requirements here much different?
Just 55 and above is going to be 9-foot target for both, but weight stays the same. And then there's the option, instead of jumping, to step. So those are the really two big differences. Otherwise, nothing major as far as anything else goes.
Cool. And so there you have it. On this specific workout, I'm curious to know everyone's thoughts. I would think we're all pretty similar, but I'll start with you, Griffin. What do you think the limiter is on this workout?
Well, that's for most people, it's definitely going to be the volume. You see, you're going to do 100 and you do Karen by the time you get to 60 wall balls on the 66. You're at Karen. If you don't train past that, between the volume of that and also having to step over the box, it's going to be a lot on you, especially for the common goer of going to the gym for an hour a day. So just that capacity, that leg capacity, is going to be the biggest thing for most people right off the bat.
Yeah, okay. Jake's, anything to add in terms of limiters on this? Calling you both as a duo.
We're just one brain cell together.
Yes.
Yes. Cool. You go ahead. Okay. I think what's going to limit a lot of people is they're going to come out quickly, and their legs are going to blow up earlier than they could blow up. I think that if you manage this properly, your legs will blow up eventually, but much later if you have some smart breakups from the beginning.
Okay. Mr. Douglas, anything to add?
I just think that, the compound interest of the workout is what's going to get you. You know what I mean? The first couple rounds happen fast, and then the set of 66 is going to be very miserable.
And your shoulders are going to be smoked.
How you hold the med ball, so many things. But I think that the compound interest of the workout, that's my answer.
Cool. Colette, anything to add on top of that?
No, that's about it. Legs and lungs. And once people's legs go and they start focusing on their lungs, they're going to find a lot of time to rest in between the ball dropping and the step up, or the jump overs and all that kind of stuff. So legs and lungs with this one.
Yeah. And I want to make a point of this too. We kind of brushed over this a little bit, but so it's 12-minute time cap. Most people won't finish this. Jake Marconi is the person that's probably spent the most time with these two athletes. Austin Hatfield and Dallin Pepper, how good of athletes? Like give the people a little bit of a picture of how good these athletes are that did not finish this workout.
Yeah, Jake and I were talking about this as we were watching the announcement. You see Colton being 30 seconds ahead of these guys at one point and looking like he's just demolishing them. And then you look across and it's Jason Hopper, who won the CrossFit Games. And next to him is Dallin, who is trading blows with Jason on almost every workout they ever do. And so you have the winner of the CrossFit Games and then his, what I would call nemesis, also his best friend next to him, that they trade wins on workouts all the time. And Jason's just kind of edging out Dallin. And then Austin has become in the last 18 months one of the top competitors in the space. Austin is built just like Matt Fraser. He moves similarly. I wouldn't say he's as good a mover as Matt, but still moves really, really well and is one of the top in the world. And he got, if you watch the announcement, smoked by these guys, right? So you're looking at who's probably one of the top athletes in the world at the moment, lose this workout by a decent margin. If you're looking at your own expectations and goals, you should probably set them far below Austin's. Don't even look at the other guys.
Yeah. So question on that. Does anyone know off the top of their head how far Austin did get on this?
He had 50 reps left.
50 reps left, I think, somewhere around there. It was a bit weird with the
30 wall balls on the back half of it. Yeah. Okay. So if we're looking at markers, right, we're already getting a question of the top 25%. I think that's somewhere where people want to know that every single year. It's always tough to say on a workout that's not being repeated, right? It's the first time anyone's seen this. Does anyone have any thoughts on what top 25% might end up looking like here?
Probably somewhere around the 66 set.
Yeah, I would think so too. If you can get over that halfway mark or even to it, I think you're probably in good shape to be near that top 25% line. Obviously, we want to get as far as we can. Jake.
This is also a workout that when you look at first workouts in the Open for the past probably 6 or 7 years, but all of the Open, but for the last 6 or 7, they've been like a very similar kind of vibe for each of those workouts. A lot of reps. You get into the hundreds of reps as a score. Whenever we get in there, there's these cutoff points where there's like a huge clump of people that are going to be at that 66, right? That are going to be like touching that 66 set. And right below the first rep of 66 is going to be a massive amount of people all clumped together. Right over that hump of 66, there's going to be far fewer, but a clump. And then you're going to get these clumps as you move through. So on a workout like this, it's truly important that every single rep matters, because you get maybe 3 to 5 more reps and you bang yourself up hundreds of spots on the leaderboard, because there's going to be so many people clumped inside of these.
Cool. So one thing I want to also kind of say over the top of this too, I believe one of you guys had already said this, but I think it should be harped on, is while we can look at this and we can say, hey, we have nearly 250 wall balls, we have 72 box jump overs, 36 med ball step overs, a lot of legs, obviously. I don't think we can underestimate what the shoulder fatigue of this will be, right? Doing 250 wall balls or some amount of that under 12 minutes and holding that medicine ball is not going to lead for a lot of rest on the shoulders, especially if we get in that middle chunk where we are doing the med ball step overs. So there's some intentionality to be had about how you are holding your medicine ball. Any of you guys have any thoughts on what people can do to start to figure out, all right, is it on the shoulder? Is it both hands? Is it one hand? Is it around the chest? What do you guys think there? Jake Douglas. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we actually played with this just before, and I do think it's like athlete dependent on what you prefer and how you can actually breathe there. But like if you're someone like built similar to Jake and I, like not exactly the tallest athlete, I'm not going to say we're short, we're definitely the average of height. But if you were somewhere around our size, potentially stepping up, and I haven't checked the rule book to double check this is allowed, but if you could step up, holding it similar to the way that Colton did, like in that bear hug position, but nice and loose and nearly rested on your quad as you step up, that could be a good play if you're struggling with like holding the med ball in the front rack through the wall ball anyway. Again, we'd have to double check the standards to see like if you could actually rest the med ball there or not. I haven't done that.
You cannot. I looked through it.
You looked at that?
So
Yeah, sweet. Well, that's
on the
out of the question
standard,
then.
yeah, you can't touch the medicine ball or your arm to the leg or to the box at any point during the rep. Obviously, guys, check the standards yourself, but that was what I understood after having read through it.
I think for most of the people that we're talking to, this is not going to be enough shoulder fatigue to make you not do it. This is going to be really difficult to breathe. Even though it's light, it's just tough to breathe. It's tough to keep in the right position. Your arms are going to be sweaty. It's going to be slipping off the ball. It's not like a sandbag that's kind of rough and will stick to your skin. The ball slips a bit, right? And you're going to be really bent over if you're using that. If you're average height, you'll still be bent over using that technique. And so it's something that I would stay away from for most people. You also could have a short arm or be really thick like Jake and have a tough time getting your arm over that ball. But this is the way that I think to go.
Like a toddler. Like
yeah, you can't reach. I think what's more is managing what your arms are doing on the wall balls is going to manage your shoulder fatigue a bit more than what you do with the wall ball.
You know what?
The step over.
And knowing that you can't touch the quad, I feel like it's too much room for error. If I was going to hold it in the bear hug, that'd be really tricky to not touch my quad. So yeah, knowing that now, I think it would definitely have to be on the shoulder. It would be single arm. If one blew up, I would trade over and then go again, you know?
Yeah. Colette, did you have anything to add there? I saw you'd also raise your hand to that.
No, just honestly, if game planning this one, it would be because obviously you don't want to fiddle with the ball while you're trying to step up, I think, quickly. So I would say even 18 on one arm, 18 on the other arm, pending which arm feels more fatigued as you go from catching it into the step ups. That was really just what I was going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, before we move on, I will remind you, if you've just joined the call, just recently joined it, if you have a question, throw it into the chat so that way we can get to it here at the end of the call, but we're going to keep on moving. So for the wall balls, obviously one of the big questions everyone's going to have is, do they try to go unbroken at the start? If not, when do they break up? How do they break up? How can they start to regulate that? Griffin, I feel like I've not heard from you in a second. So what are your thoughts there?
Well, obviously it's going to depend on what your capacity is, right? As an athlete, what level of athlete you think you are. I would tell most athletes to break up earlier than they think. Just because that, just like Jake Douglas was talking about, that compound interest is going to really catch you later in this workout. And I'll refer back to Karen, right? If you know what your Karen time is, roughly, right? It's not exact, but if you know what that is, 150 wall balls. Well, if that takes you 7 minutes, you're already over half this workout on just that alone. You're also adding other pieces to it. We could talk about how long it takes to do each rep and all that good stuff. But as simple as this is you could do 10 wall balls, drop the ball, 1 to 3 second break and pick it back up and go. And you're able to continually move further and further along for a lot longer. Once you hit that red line of I held onto the ball 1 too many reps, you're cooked. And then now all of a sudden you've lost 10, 20, 30 seconds because you can't pick the ball up. So I would tell a lot of athletes that are in that middle range of trying to, be over the 75%, right? I break at 10s and I would just stay steady and consistent from the beginning, and you'll end up having a much better score in the long run. That may not give you your absolute best score, but it's definitely going to keep you from having a bad score of you going too hard and blowing up.
Yeah, absolutely. Colette, on the actual technique of the wall ball, is there any thoughts to be had there? I mean, obviously people do wall balls all the time if they're following CrossFit programs, like anything we're offering. So they'll have some experience here if they've been training. That said, should they be thinking about what they're doing with their arms, how fast they're cycling? What do you think there?
So I think with this piece, kind of along with what Griffin said, it's if you know you're going to be breaking, I always like to think of wall balls as a push and a pull, meaning that I'm pushing it up, but as that ball comes back down, I'm not labored with my catching. I'm already receiving and cushioning it so that I can make those reps as fluid as possible. So in that, I'm absorbing it and then firing out quickly. I think that allows me to have a little time where it's actually here, which is the shoulder position that kind of sucks for everybody the most, and that over time will break up. So if you can think about catching it nice and quickly, softly, and getting it out of your hands again, having that rotation, it will allow for those quick breaks to actually mean something as far as your shoulder endurance goes with things. And also in regards to that, it's like if you're going through this and you're saying, okay, it's 12 minutes. What does each rep, like how many reps do I need to get in every minute in order to accumulate the total amount? We already said that this one's hard to finish, most likely not finishing, right? So it's around like 29.5 reps per minute that you'd actually have to do to finish the workout. So when you're thinking about that as an athlete, I want to think, well, how many wall balls, knowing my shoulder endurance, do I need to actually get per minute in order to kind of piece this up and get as far as possible? So having that and almost going backwards through that mindset of the 12-minute cap, that's helpful to think like, okay, I just need to do, 18 quick wall balls in the minute. So what does that break look like? How do I break this up moving forward to get as deep as possible?
Yeah. Jake, Marconi.
Just to add to the idea of breaking this up early and often, don't underestimate how much a 1 to 3 second break is going to truly change this workout. That release from tension is going to, like Jake said, compound over the course of the workout. And if you do just even 3 seconds, right? And let's be honest, it's going to be more than 3 seconds as you get into this workout, is going to make that set of 20, 30 feel completely different than if you go unbroken. And what that takes is the confidence to know that you can trust yourself to pick up the ball. So if you're somebody who's considering breaking this up early and often, give yourself a little pep talk before and make a rule for yourself that you're going to pick up the ball when you say you're going to pick it up. And what I like to do is I start counting when I drop it. So I'll go 1, 2, 3. What number I get to doesn't matter as much as the fact that I'm aware of how long I've been resting because I'm counting. And then that keeps me honest to pick it up.
Jake Douglas.
Yeah, on that, as like a real life scenario here, in pro in the last, it might have been a couple of weeks ago, we had like a 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 workout with like wall balls and toe to bar. I went unbroken through those wall balls. Georgia Pryor broke those wall balls up in 10s from the beginning of the workout, and she beat me.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's proof in the pudding there, right? We are not necessarily looking at this as simple as, hey, going unbroken means you're finishing faster, especially if you're getting time capped at 12 minutes. There is a lot to be said about cycle speed and how long you're taking to transition between movements. On the wall ball specifically, this is mentioned in the chat. I see Jan is talking about this. This is a place I wanted to go as well. With the breathing, I think that is something that people can think about, especially if they've not before, on the wall ball, just to be that much little bit more relaxed as they're going through, right? That out breath, that exhale as we come up, inhale either as the ball's descending or we're going down, generally seems to go best for athletes. Obviously, if that's not something you've ever thought about, it's worth a play with before we start. And if you like it, use it for the Metcon. If not, just do it how you normally would. But usually, if we can think about our breath pattern as we're going through not just the wall balls, but all 3 of the movements in this Metcon, we can probably have a little easier time regulating our heart rate and overall getting further into the piece. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the box jump over. With 18 of them and so much more wall balls and just so much more going on in this workout, I think it's easy to not give much thought about the box jump over. But if we were to think about, all right, how do we want to manage that? What should that look like for people? Let's say for people that are thinking they're going to get capped first. Griffin, I'll have you go if you can.
Well, this is still the theme of the entire workout. It's just consistency. I'd tell you to have consistent step to the box, consistent jump, how you're going to step down, and have a consistent reset of breathing. So like we just talked about breathing on the wall ball, use your breath as your timing piece and have every rep look the same. I wouldn't tell someone to be like, well, you have to hold a box jump over in every 2 to 2.5 seconds. I would tell you, find a consistent rhythm and don't change. Stay right there.
Yeah. Jake Douglas, for people that are on that pro track that maybe are looking at getting deep into this or potentially taking a crack at finishing this workout, do the box jump overs change at all? What would be some considerations there?
No, I don't think they change, man. I think you just have to pick a pace there. Like if you're truly considering that, like finishing this workout or getting deep into that like 30, 20s, I mean, like it's pretty fast, bro. Like 30 reps a minute, regardless of the movements, is it's moving, right? So you're going to have to be around that like 2 seconds a rep kind of period the whole time. And that's just like, it's not sprinting, but it's not really breaking either. Like you're going to have to just be really consistent, and it's going to have to be really like mundane from the start, and you're just going. The moment you get to the box, you need to go. The moment you leave, it's picking the wall ball straight back up. And that's just the reality of it. Now, in saying that, where it changes for those athletes is like, it's going to be a very big difference between being in your 40s and your 30s on the wall balls, or being on your 30s and your 20s on the wall balls. If you finish the 30s to getting halfway through the 18s, so when you figure out where your ceiling is going to be with the workout, pacing it out accordingly, that's where the magic of the workout is, I think, for people who are considering, look, this is going to dictate my season a little bit, whether this is a good workout or a poor workout for me. Every rep is going to be really important. So when they figure that out, and then again, I think Colette said it, like reverse engineering the workout for that score that you know you need. And I think for anyone that's at a higher level, looking at Austin's score is a score that you could be like, all right, if I pace this appropriately, because I think that Austin maybe had a bit of a pacing problem considering who he was around, and you could see it, like it was evident his rep speed nearly halved in the back end of the workout. So if he was to pace that better from the start, I have no doubt that he gets into the 20 wall balls, or, you know, on that last set of 18 step ups. So yeah, that's what I would say to those people in pro. Like, you really have to understand exactly where you're at, what score you're chasing, and then stick to that plan.
Yeah. Colette, any considerations for Masters athletes going through this workout that you think would be specific to people that are in those Masters divisions that we haven't already covered?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say more specifically for like my Masters women, like we've been doing 10-foot targets, and we pretty much always do 10-foot targets. Rarely are we using 9-foot target. I don't know about you, but it's like a gift from God. When I get a 9-foot target, like it's a little bit more happy days for my hips, a little bit less work to have to get it up and generate that power to get it up a little bit higher. So I think honestly, for my Masters ladies, it's like, that's like a gift. So run with that. It's not 10 foot.
Yeah, really good point. So I want to jump into some of these questions that I'm seeing. I'm just seeing a couple. So guys, if you have more, definitely be putting them in there. First one, I'll take it myself, is Kevin is asking warm-up ideas, ideal time for warm-up to go. You are a step ahead of us. So that is actually something you'll be able to see. And that brings me to a point I wanted to make on this call. If you are hitting this workout tomorrow, you will see in the app, in the normal pro program or the flagship or 60 programs, a warm up for the workout itself, even some strategy notes. That's all going to be in there. And if you want to do the workout on a different day than Friday, you'll have a toggle variation in flagship, at least, just like you would get into the Masters track or 60, that'll just say CrossFit Open. And there you'll be able to find a video breakdown of the workout, some strategy notes, and a warm up. So generally speaking, when we're looking at that warm up, we're going to want to approach it like we've approached those throwdown workouts on Fridays, where we're starting the workout first. And typically that flows like a little bit of cardio, some general body prep, a little more specific prep, and then maybe a game pace round or two before we actually hit the thing. That whole process can be done in 20 to 30 minutes usually, right? If you're taking longer than 30 minutes for your warm-up, especially if you're going it alone, you might end up affecting your performance here, just depending on what that looks like. So a second question I'm seeing, Jamie Boss is asking, when does the shirt need to come off for optimizing my score? Any thoughts there? I'll ask the men of this call more so.
Yeah, so you know what? I was thinking about this before. I don't know whether pulling my shirt off is the best play here. That ball is going to get slippery. So
Jake
for me,
sweats like a faucet has been turned off.
So for me, you know, the shirt is going to come off when I've finished the second set of step overs, if I can get there. That's going to be my little reward for if I get through the step overs, or I'll pull it off on the 66, have a fresh shirt to wrap the med ball in, and then go.
Cool. So Cheryl's asking a very interesting question. Any advice for adaptive divisions, or should we go ask our coaches? I will hand up and say, I actually don't know the adaptive versions of this workout, so I don't think I'm best to speak on that. I don't know if any of you guys are different. I would say defer to any coach you're working with, but unless you guys have any familiarity there.
No, I couldn't see when I went to go look up the score sheet of everything and all the differences. It wasn't up on my end yet. So little technical difficulties on my end today all around.
We have a rookie athlete. I'm pretty sure she's very new to CrossFit. This girl named Michelle Latonder. I don't know. She asked this question. Very good question. How many wall balls in a warm up is too many wall balls? Griffin, I'll have you take that.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends, right? What are you used to volume wise as an athlete, right? So, elite athletes probably don't need to do too many. Honestly, you really don't need that many reps. If you don't need to do more than 50 wall balls, I tell you, like probably 20 to 30 reps, and you're good. That's enough.
Yeah.
We're doing
Jacob.
Yeah, first 20 is the warm up. No, I'm kidding. But the warm up that I've written that'll come into pro, we've got 20 or more. So there's 1 to 2 sets, which would have 20 wall balls in it as like one set. And I would typically do, as the people would see, and we've done through some of the throwdown warm ups, it'll be like rowing to warm the like lower body, upper body up, and then 10 wall balls, box jump overs, 10 wall balls, med ball, box step overs, and then rest 2 to 3 minutes. If you wanted to do it again, you could do it again. But I think that would nearly be plenty. And I think that the biggest thing as people warm up there is practicing your footwork for those step overs and little things like that, what your transitions look like more so than actually warming the movement up, warm up like neurologically for what happens through the workout. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I'll add in a little over the top of that. And I'll say that generally when I'm creating a warm-up, if you want to get really analytical about it, I look at my rule of 30%, right? And so if I'm looking at rep volume, this isn't always the case, but more times than not, I don't want to hit more than 30% of a high volume movement in my warm-up. And so if I'm expecting to finish, which again, not everyone will be in that scenario, most will not, but I'm doing 250 reps, I wouldn't want to do more than 30% of that. So what would that be? 75 reps. So on the questions, we have Gerardo asking, Jake, any particular tips for strong 2.0 athletes?
Yeah, so it's a good question. If you've been doing strong 2.0 or lift for that matter, you've not been doing this much volume on any movement. You have been doing a lot of squat volume, so you will not be too far off of feeling what your quads are going to feel like. But we certainly have not done over 100 wall balls in a very long time at any point in the program. So just consider that as you're setting expectations for your workout. Consider that this is not something that we train a lot. This style of workout is not something that you've been doing in strong. You've been in strong for probably the reason to get stronger. I know that some people run it as a base program and they do other metcons on top of it, but just consider that as you go into this volume is going to punch you in the face a little bit. So set your expectations cleanly.
Yeah. So I have a celebrity guest, Coach Michelle, actually texting me a little bit of feedback right now. She got ahead of me on some of those questions. And so we got Nabil asking, how do we break the wall ball? Strategies to break instead of doing that unbroken. And she's saying, recommends just putting the ball down. So simple, like, but when you're breaking, make sure that ball hits the ground and we're not actually holding it while we rest, right? So if you're going to stop your cadence of rest, make sure we're not also holding the medicine ball. Outside of that, if your strategy is to break instead of going unbroken, when you do break, we spoke to that a little bit before, make sure that we are keeping those rests short. Even a 3-second rest can go a long way. If you are breaking, and add to that, try to not step back from the wall if possible. It's easy to lose a lot of time taking 5, 6, 10 steps away from the wall or doing a big lap and coming to. If I can be disciplined to take my rest, but do so without my feet stepping backward, it's a really good way to make sure that rest is as minimal as possible. Additionally, as you're going through that rest, make sure those arms have come down. You can shake them out, take a breath or two, and then we're right back into it. So on another question here, we have Matt K asking about, he's in the 40 to 44 category, lifts his main program. He's asking about breaking the wall balls into sets of 10. Will it allow him to still hit top 25%? If he kept a 5-second rest between sets, does he need to be at 20 for the first set, 15, followed by whatever he wants to? Obviously, a very specific question. Colette, I'll have you take that. What are your thoughts there?
Well, yeah, again, it's going to be hard to be like, oh, this is where 25% is. But if you're thinking about okay, I want to get past the Karen hump, right? I want to go through that. Again, I know the Jakes have mentioned it. I've mentioned it, like watching somebody do Karen unbroken or trying to go unbroken, watching somebody do Karen in sets of 10 and the person doing it in sets of 10 beat the other person. So it's like, if you're diligent, and again, you know your conditioning base, we don't, you've been doing lift, you're comfortable with a barbell following that program, that's great. But you staying diligent to any plan that you're going to put into place, kind of always knowing how I think about it is I have a plan A, like in a perfect world, this is what's going to happen. And then here's my emergency parachute. This is plan B in case that goes to shit, right? So that's my second one. So what does that look like for you in an ideal world? Can you do that every 10? Where's that going to get you? And I would say, again, if you're saying here's 12 minutes, if I do every 10, that's going to take roughly about this long. And again, this is part of what warm-up's about. If you're going through a warm-up set and you're doing like one of the working sets we've kind of had either in pro or flagship, how long does that take you? If you're going at game pace for 10 wall balls and let's just say 10 box jump step overs, how long did that take you? Right? That's going to then give you a realistic picture. Like, okay, if I'm doing this pace throughout, I'm going to get here. Right. And I think that that's more helpful than like, you must get here. Otherwise you're not top 25%, because again, it's what you're capable of doing with that game plan.
Yeah. So I would add to that as well with any sort of specific strategy. I'd call back to Jake's example of the workout he did with Georgia prior with the 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 wall balls in it. Georgia broke it up in 10s, beat Jake, who went unbroken. That's a really good demonstration of there isn't this one strategy that's going to be the golden strategy and make it to where you're successful in this workout, right? That's usually going to be true in a Metcon. It definitely isn't this one. So there are some athletes that can go with 10s a whole way and probably comfortably make it in the top 25%. There are others that maybe that's not the move for them, right? And so the best idea is to, with what you're saying, Colette, figure out what is best for you in the warm-up and then go for it. And that's probably your best shot. Jake Douglas, I saw you had something to add.
Yeah, I just think, again, we have to remember that what we saw on the live stream is just not a real reflection of what is like completely achievable. I think like that is achievable for a very small amount of people who do this sport in general. And like, if you could hold 5 seconds rest between 10s, like truly, that would be phenomenal. So like if that's a genuine game plan and you could do that, then I think that'll get you where you need to be. I don't think that I could just rest 10 seconds between sets of 10 in this workout. I think I would need minimum, 5 to 10 seconds. That would be best case scenario for me, like as I look at the whole workout. So I think we saw some people go unbroken. That's like, 10's achievable, only 5 seconds rest. But truly, the moment that ball hits the ground for 5 seconds, like that is quite literally, it hits the ground, it settles, and you pick it back up. Like your 5 seconds diminishes. So just remember that. Colette said it before, like having a few different plans. You need to have that as an idea of like 5 seconds rest may seem achievable, but it's going to be really hard. So have a couple of options there just in case that the 5 seconds seems to speed up for some reason when fatigue hits.
Michelle has added into the chat that her plan on the wall balls is 5-3-2s.
Very valuable.
Marconi.
I have something to add on the breaking of the wall balls, and you can apply it to any workout. My favorite thing to do is just count backwards from the rep. So if I'm doing a set of 20, I count backwards, and what it does, one, mentally for me is like once I say a number, I know that that's all I have left, which is encouraging, and 2, I find that way of breaking things up makes it so that I don't have a very specific plan. I just know what I've got left, and I know that I've got to figure out some way to get to it. And the theme there is more important than actually counting backwards. When you're breaking stuff up, and that's the strategy you're going to take, don't look for what the max amount or the minimum amount is that you can break it up. Look for what you're going to be able to wrap your head around the whole time. So if you have it, like I love when there's 15s in a workout, I love doing 8-7. Some people like doing 9-6. The difference there is nothing. It's just that 8-7 feels good to me. So when you're breaking things up, it's really a game of what feels right. And I know that sounds like a little hooey, but it's what feels right and you can commit to the whole time.
I want to say one more thing about breakout, because I feel like we maybe haven't mentioned this enough, or maybe some people don't understand this enough about pacing a workout. If you break it right and you pace it appropriately, that's the hardest version of the workout there is, because that's your best score, right? Like, if you truly pace it perfectly, that is going to be the hardest version. I think sometimes people assume like, oh, if I pace this right, it's not going to hurt. Not true. It will hurt. The workout is painful and it's a fitness sport. So just remember that, and we are trying to get our best possible score. Now, pacing it right might delay the pain, but it's not going to stop it. It will get to a point where things get really dark because you're at your capacity.
Yeah, the idea is to keep you working at your absolute limit the whole time.
And with that in mind, Michelle did clarify she's not kidding. That will be the best way to keep her moving at the current level of fitness. It's 5-3-2. And I actually think that there are a lot of people that probably could benefit from going smaller sets like that. Like, as small as that may seem, right? We balls and we think automatically sets of 15, 20, whatever. In this context, with this many, with such little break on the legs, it might make sense to go to really small sets if that makes you stay consistent. So keep that in mind as you're going through. On another question that we have here, Shelby asks, as the time cap approaches at any point, would you suggest going full send or staying consistent till the end? Griffin, I'll have an answer.
Yeah, you just gotta let it rip at that point. When you're almost there, you got no, whether it's a minute, whatever's left, you got to go. So, there's not really much else. Put it out on the table. You're only going to want to do this workout once.
So on a little more specifics there, is there a certain point where we're saying, hey, that time cap's approaching? Is it at 10 minutes? Is it 11 minutes? Is it 30 seconds left? When would you generally say is the right time to, hey, we need to sprint to the finish?
For most people, if you pace this really well, if you try to push really hard for 2 minutes, it's really difficult. I would say that if you've been setting in this pace forever and you really ramp up everything you got, 2 minutes might be too early. It's more so around that 1 minute, maybe 90-second mark. You do need to know yourself there with what you have in the tank. But yeah, that a drastic like push at the end, if you've been pretty consistent, I don't think anything before that last 2 minutes is going to be very beneficial for you at that point.
Yeah. So another question that we have here is on the step overs, is swinging the leg around the box permitted? I actually don't know the answer to that. I didn't get to that in the standards. Do you guys know? Griffin, I see you nodding your head.
There's nothing in the standards that says you can't do it. So it's one of those gray areas they didn't say anything about. But if you go look through the standards, both feet need to touch the box. You can't touch the box with your hands, the ball, all that kind of good stuff. Has nothing, no mention of your foot going around the box. It has to go on top of the box. So when you step down, they let it happen there. I would assume it's going to be fine. But I would tell any athlete that I was coaching is just make sure if that does happen to bring it back in line with the box as you bring it down instead of stepping outside the box.
Yeah. So on another question that we have here, any suggestions for the technique for the wall ball step overs? We covered that, but just to review it, we're saying that, hey, we want to practice different styles before beginning ideally. If you don't have specific practice with the step over as a movement in any fashion, it's worth it to try a few reps just with your body weight, just to figure out, all right, what's the path of least amount of steps? How can we maybe turn on the box so we can end up on the far side facing the box? I like to think about both on the box jump over and the step over. When that second foot comes off the box to the ground, I want to make that time as minimal as possible to get back up, right? So if I'm doing the jump over, my second foot steps down and I'm immediately in my next jump. That's going to help me find a rhythm. The step over is very much the same way. If I can do that and start to couple in some breath work over the top of that so I can stay relaxed through these reps, that's going to be helpful. But on those movements, whether it's the jump overs or step overs, we know that that is an opportunity to catch our breath, to make sure that we are feeling okay as we get into the wall balls, which are just a faster movement in general. So be sure we have that in mind. Last year, we'd covered this before on the medicine ball in terms of how you're holding it. The shoulder will probably be fatiguing for some on the shoulder, might affect the wall ball. Some might not have the size to get over or might have too much size in the case of Griffin or Jake Douglas to where they can't really. But if we hold it in front of us, we are going to possibly be affecting our ability to breathe by holding that ball against the chest. So it's worth mixing things up before we start to try to find your path of most comfortable and have a backup plan for if your strategy starts going bad, we can switch to a different technique. Sweet. I'm looking for any other questions here. I see that one was asked by Geraldine. who's asking if Michelle's going to do an affiliate call. Presley had actually got into that, but in case anyone's wondering the same thing, she is going to send out a class plan via email in just a few minutes. She should have actually already done that by now. So if she hasn't, I'm sure that is coming very soon. Guys, we talked about this just a little bit, but what do we think about redoing this? It's something everyone, I feel like, ends up asking about at one time or another. Maybe not all of you who have done many CrossFit Opens in the world, but what do we think? Is this a redoable workout or not? When would be the right time, or is there even a right time?
I think.
No, go ahead.
Hey, Douglas, you went first. Go ahead.
I think that if they're like a higher level, they've got a decent training volume, they could redo this workout, honestly, especially if they're kind of getting through the 66s and like into it. The volume isn't really that crazy. So yeah, I think that it is, but like not within a couple of days. If you did it today and tried to redo tomorrow, I think that'd just be silly. You would dampen it. But for us here, like in Oz anyways, like it's Friday morning. If you hit it now, we've got till like Tuesday morning. So like you could really do it on Monday or afternoon again. And you've had like, what's that, like 72 plus hours of rest and recovery. So, you know, I think that the best bet would be hit it as early as you can and then get some decent training in. And then if you wanted to redo, you've just got a decent training day Monday to hit.
Yeah, Colette, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, like if you're curious about how your strategy is going to feel or what it's going to feel like, something that's helpful to do, you know, again, based on volume and how much it might wreck you, but like do 4 minutes of the workout at the pace that you want to do, and then do the rest of your training, and then do it when you're actually going to do it, go for it. And by then you should know, hey, that was good. That wasn't. I would say 4 to 6 minutes. Anything past that, it's kind of like you're getting up there with the volume. So at that point, it might not be worth it if you've not trained to that, you know, level of volume with things. So yeah, that would be my take.
Sweet. We'll do this for a couple more minutes. So guys, if you have any last questions, please enter them now. Dalton had asked, fiance is great at box jump overs, but listens to her quitter on wall balls. I told her she needs to mentally take advantage of the box jump over as a recover maintenance period and mitigate mental fatigue more so than physical fatigue. What are your thoughts on this? I'd say, without knowing your fiance, assuming you probably do as an athlete, you're probably correct there. I think if you get in your head on wall balls and you can use the box jump overs as a little bit of a buffer to not be so mentally in the hole on the wall balls as frequently, that might end up being a little more successful. Guys, I don't know if y'all have any extra thoughts on that. Sweet. All right. So I'm not seeing any extra questions. I think we will start to wrap it. Guys, any last thoughts on this workout that we have not covered yet?
Pick a good playlist.
Oh, pick a good playlist. I like it.
And start a new song with the start of the workout. You can't start in the middle of the song.
It's just weird.
It's just
it's weird to do
feel
that.
Right.
Griffin, Colette, anything?
I mean, I feel like within the flagship and pro track, like we've done enough of variations of like wall balls, rowing, like all the stuff that makes it get gnarly. And I feel like this is why you do it, right? So you've done all that work, like the tracks have prepared you. So at this point, it's like you kind of should know where your capacity is. So I feel like you guys have an upper hand advantage on your friends at the gym that don't. So there you go. That's my take.
Sweet. Griffin, last thoughts.
If you want the secret to the workout, no, I'm kidding. I will say this. This is a big difference for a lot of people. And even in kind of like the moderate level to not even necessarily the elite, but if you watched the guys go, the elites actually were a little bit different. How you catch and where you catch the wall ball makes a big difference. Colton was efficient as could possibly be, caught the ball at the bottom, ball was right back up. He had the fastest rep speed across the board. It's half a rep. You're not descending with the ball. So if you work on catching that ball low, it took about 1.5 seconds a rep. And if you're catching it up high, it takes about 2 seconds. If you would actually finish the workout, that's a whole difference of 2 minutes. You're not finishing the workout, but that's a lot of time, right? Even if you did exactly the same way he did, if you caught it at the top versus him at the bottom, you'd be 2 minutes slower. So just knowing like, hey guys, like if you have never practiced, this is probably not the time to do it if you've never done this before, but just know if you want to get better at wall balls, start learning on, hey, you know what? I could work on descending and catching. And Colette mentioned it. really catching that ball as low as you can and coming right back up. The ball moves faster on gravity instead of you squatting down, so it makes it easier, and you have less time under tension. So that's your secret to the workout in case you want to start thinking about how to do wall balls a little bit better. But that's about it.
I like that. Guys, just as some housekeeping things to wrap up here. If you join the call late, know that we will be posting the recording to this call in multiple different places. On Circle, you'll be able to find it in the app. If you're on the flagship or 60 track, you'll be able to find a toggle down breakthrough for 26.1. It'll say CrossFit Open, and you'll find all sorts of strategy notes there, as well as the workout itself, a place for you to go find it. So say on Monday, you end up doing the workout, you can scroll to change your program to just that workout, and then you can hit that instead. Last thing here, guys, is thank you so much. If you've watched this far, thank you for in the chat and you're asking questions. We do this because we are excited to have all of you guys hit the open and be successful. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Good luck. And if you have any questions, always ask here on Circle. Guys, thanks for joining me for this.
Dunskies. Is that Josh out?
Josh out.
Josh done. 3 minutes in 10 seconds. What? Did we talk about anything else or Josh is off?
I was like, that was quick. Bye, guys.
See you guys.